The nationwide manhunt ended with Steve Stevens committing suicide at the wheel of his car during a police chase.
United Airlines referred to an involuntary deboarding situation with that horrific video of a passenger being dragged off.
Breaking news, tensions rapidly escalating tonight over North Korea. China now putting its bombers on high alert. An extraordinary number of Chinese military aircraft now ready to respond if Kim Jong-un acts.
I can't really speak for anyone else, but for myself, the current political climate, and really all of the rest, paying bills, personal relationships, my relationship to technology, or the fact that everyone lately seems to be saying we're on the brink of some kind of war, all of these things are just a bit much to deal with every day. And if any of you can relate to any of this, there has to be some way for us to be able to make our realities better than that. A way to find fulfillment in a world that seems continually unable to adequately represent it. Because as an agnostic atheist myself, I struggled against nihilism for years, and escaping that trap has revealed to me something very simple, and that is that if I want to suffer less in this world, a system of spiritual self-inquiry is a necessity. Happiness is a strange thing in that it appears as if it can only be attained once we achieve a particular kind of success or buy a shiny item from the store, whether it be the new iPhone or even a car. But most of us know that these things won't give us lasting happiness. Most of us understand that we shouldn't place so much emphasis on these things, but unfortunately most of us still live as if they do give us lasting happiness. We still live as if material possessions give us fulfillment. Or at least, okay, I do. I live that way. But I'm attempting to change how I view my current obsession with wanting things on the outside of me to help the turmoil that's going on in the inside of me. And I know that's cliche, but just hear me out. Because in the end, all those things that I valued so much were not valuable in and of themselves. So, okay, when I'm on my deathbed, I will not care about the cars that I drove, the Nike shoes that I wore. And you know what? I might find it difficult to care about much of anything at all. But if, let's say, my family were around me or a good friend, I would still care about those things. Because family and friends, or any personal relationship for that matter, I find to be the most valued commodity a human can have. Building our relationships with the lives of others is a powerful tool in attaining happiness and success. And not the kind of success that is measured in dollar signs, although money up to a certain point is very much needed to maintain a sense of stability. I get that, but if, for the most part, I have all the things that I need, I can begin to slow down and focus on what I really value in life. And a cool part about that is that even though this value may seem to range from person to person, the core principle underneath the value is actually universal. And that value is connection. We all want to feel included and a part of. So now the question becomes, how do we get there then? How do we become more connected to one another? Or you could phrase it like, how do we become more present with one another? How do we get to the present moment?
If you insist on being moved, being determined by the past, that's your game. But the fact of the matter is, it all starts right now. You're getting rid of the habit of thought whereby you define yourself as the result of what has gone before, and instead get into the more plausible and more reasonable habit of thought, in terms of which you don't define yourself in terms of what you've done before, but in terms of what you're doing now.
It is always now. The reality of your life is always now. And to realize this, we will see, is liberating. In fact, I think there's nothing more important to understand if you want to be happy in this world. But we spend most of our lives forgetting this truth, overlooking it, fleeing it, repudiating it. And the horror is that we succeed. We manage to avoid being happy while struggling to become happy, fulfilling one desire after the next, banishing our fears, grasping at pleasure, recoiling from pain, and thinking interminably about how best to keep the whole works up and running. As a consequence, we spend our lives being far less content than we might otherwise be. We often fail to appreciate what we have until we have lost it. We crave experiences, objects, relationships, only to grow bored with them. And yet the craving persists.
Okay, so to actually answer the question that I asked, which is how do we find the present moment? Where is it? Okay, well, I could say something trite, which is that, you're already there. This is the Dzogchen Buddhist way of explaining it. But to most of us, that really doesn't help at all. So if you'll allow me to do a very quick exercise, it will be no more than a minute, because I know that paying attention to something as arbitrary as the breath, which is what we will be doing, is painfully boring nowadays because of how fast attention spans have plummeted due to technology and multitasking and all of those things. I also know that for most of us, meditation either seems impossible or we are skeptical of it. And if it's the latter, take a look at all of the science behind the benefits of meditation. This should curb that skepticism quickly. And to those of you who think it may be dangerous to meditate, all that is needed to reap the benefits of meditation is to be able to, if even for the briefest of moments, disidentify with a thought. So this could be the thought that says, meditation is bad for me, meditation is going to make me go crazy. If the person meditating at any time of the meditation is able to see that thought, that attachment to neuroticism as a separate entity from who they are, just a floating image of phenomena, this is an insight. And if that insight can be achieved, then meditation is for them. And it's actually very easy to achieve this insight. It just takes, it's easy, but it's also hard, I guess, because all that it requires is patience, attention, and focus. But those things can be very difficult to do nowadays. So if you're not into this, I will not feel bad in any way if you leave. So for just this 1 minute, just see if you can just give yourself a break. Just 1 minute. See if you can just relax your body and get comfortable. Rest your shoulders. It doesn't really matter if you're lying down or not. This is not a guided meditation. I'm just going to show you how to meditate. Okay, go ahead and take a couple of deep breaths. And see if you can become aware of the process of breathing, whether this be at the tip of the nose, or in the chest or the abdomen. And every time that you've wandered off somewhere else in the mind and you're no longer just aware of the breath, gently come back to the breath. You can count if you want as well. In one, out one, so on. Just allow your awareness to just be a blanket onto the breath. And you may notice thoughts coming in and distracting you. That's normal. It is the state of seeing that process, then coming back to the breath, that is meditation. Although it may seem pointless to focus on the fact that we're breathing, doing an exercise just like this for 5 minutes a day has been shown to change the brain. It has been shown to reduce the amygdala and increase the frontal lobe. So it really is just that simple. Now, eventually we can get to a stage where the awareness becomes so strong and focused that it opens up almost on its own to the rest of the body, to the sounds in the room, and even, thoughts themselves get completely lost within awareness. And it's at these points where whatever it is that you are isn't really there anymore, and everything that's taking its space is just the space that awareness is aware of. And it all starts from a kind of seesaw game. We focus on the breath, the mind wanders off, we catch it and come back to the breath. The mind wanders off, we catch it and come back to the breath. And the more we do this, we start to realize that we are the catcher, not the thought itself. And a really interesting new way of experiencing the world can come into our lives. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, okay, that was just a waste of time, I see what you're saying. But if we do this more and more, if we do this while driving, you just make sure that your eyes are open, or waiting in line at the store, or playing a video game, or most importantly, I think, when around our friends and family. The breath is a great tool for presence because it roots us to the moment in a sensational way. We can feel present because of how it feels to breathe. So I'll leave you with a quote from Alan Watts. This is the real secret of life. To be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play.